I half expected Mark to sneak in and find a GIF or something of the Kool-Aid Man busting through the wall for us, because that's what Nick looks like at the moment. But he probably didn't have enough
That
time.
intro was intense.
Wasn't it fun?
I'm excited.
I said this on the last one. He sent me a couple last night, and that just absolutely validated my inner 90s child of just it felt like the beginning of a bunch of different movies. So
Like I thought like it was escalating. It's exciting, and now I'm here to let everybody down.
No more so than you normally do, Jim.
That was the highlight. We're done.
We're done. Hey, happy lunch hour, everybody. I'm here with Jim and Nick. Now, note that I said Jim and Nick, and I didn't say your full names because I can never pronounce Nick's last name, and I never will be able to announce Nick's last name. So it's just Jim and Nick. You guys are like a thing now, a couple.
We've been a couple for a long time, though.
Pam and Jack, Jim and Nick.
It's true.
Well, for those who don't know you two, you guys are the one's the brains, one's the beauty, one's the brawn behind Brothers Helping Brothers. Fantastic organization that helps fire departments that are struggling get equipment. But you guys also, and how I know you guys, is this freaking fantastic wellness conference. I can say that because you guys had me speak at it once. That's out in Ohio, middle of nowhere, Ohio. The only reason I've ever been to Ohio is because of you guys. So congratulations. You got me to Ohio. That alone was quite the feat. You guys have this amazing conference that I think is just one of the best in the business besides FDIC. Because it's not structured on any kind of formality. It's just this fun. You guys have hilariously cheesy themes every year. Like last year, it was kind of an Oscars theme. So you guys gave me a little Dumpy Award for speaking with John Boat from Rescue on CBD. And it's great. You guys talk about wellness, you talk about mental health, talk about the latest research. So that's who you guys are. And you guys are doing a podcast now for us on Firefighter Nation. So congratulations. I don't know if it's congratulations, but welcome.
Condolences, congratulations. You were desperate. Just admit it.
Desperation wasn't as much the word as I needed more of a comic duo. And you guys were just the first ones that popped into my mind in terms of that part of it. Somebody I could make fun of that wouldn't get offended. That's what I was going for.
That's fair.
There we go. Thank you. Mark came through.
Kool-Aid.
Younger generation's not going to get that at all, but it's Nick today.
Oh.
And we're late because Nick kept popping in and out like a little angel devil on the shoulder. Jim and I'd be talking and Nick's feed would just be popping in and out like he was having random things to say. So, right. Well, hey, welcome to the show. Talk a little bit about what it is you guys do, because what it is you guys do with your wellness program is, I think, the majority of also what's going to translate over to your podcast, which has a absolutely fantastic and original name. What is it, Nick?
I can't believe they gave us a show with Nick and Jim.
It was appropriate, yeah.
And I can't believe they're letting us keep that name.
That's right.
And we did just finish up our first and potentially last show. We don't know yet. But I don't know if that's available yet or not, Steph.
No, that excuse me. It should probably, I believe y'all's is dropping. I got to look at the schedule next Thursday. So we're dropping the first one on Tuesday, and then your show will be next Thursday. Perfect. You guys had a fantastic guest, so.
Yeah, I mean, the first guest was kind of contractually obligated. Like we had to just get her in, just
really
to get her.
Was that really what it was? Or you guys were just nervous and you figured, bringing a familiar face to break the ice?
Well, like we kind of felt like we're on a probation period, so we probably should start off safely before we get any kind of before we get into the real nitty-gritty kind of stuff.
Fair enough. So you two are very similar but unique. Nick, something that you really hit heavy on is cancer decon. That's your part-time gig, and you talk about clean gear, keeping us safe through that aspect of it. And then Jim, you're really very heavy into the cancer research side of things. Go ahead and tell us what exciting thing just happened that came down the pike for you guys in terms of affiliation.
Yeah, so we were really excited that we were able to secure a partnership with the First Responder Center for Excellence. So one of this year's keynote speakers is Frank Lieb from the FDNY, and we talked to him. He's now the managing director of the FRCE. So, it's just a natural partnership, actually, because Frank is
he wearing wrestling tights? Because that's the theme of the conference. Is that a requirement to be the keynote? I just need to know, and if so, I need pictures.
He's running in as the Ultimate Warrior. That's what he's going to do. He's going to shake the ropes and everything.
You have ropes for him to bounce off of, right? Into.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm giving you ideas. I can.
No, we are legit going to make the stage look like a wrestling ring. Like that's legit happening.
I 1,000% believe that you will accomplish that, knowing you.
You guys, I mean, they can't give us a year because our imagination will just go crazy with some of the ridiculous things that we can do.
It's amazing what you can find on Etsy and Amazon.
Having a wrestling ring. I mean, we've got lasers and fog, and I mean, everything. We're gonna make it. It's the.
You're gonna make Ohio exciting, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah, exotic. That's fair. That's fair.
All right, Nick, back to you. Now that we've all had our ADD moment. Hindsight, this might not have been the best idea.
Frank's been a big supporter of the conference. Actually, the first year we had him was 2020, which, you would think would be a bad year just because of obviously what all transpired in the beginning of 2020. But we were able to pull off a conference with everybody socially distanced and wearing masks and everything like that. And Frank was one of the great people that actually decided that he was going to make the journey, even though that the state was kind of saying that they didn't want people to travel. So really awesome to have Frank as not only a speaker, but now a collaborating partner with us as we move on with the conference.
It's ironic because I actually ask Jim to socially distance himself and wear a mask anytime I see him, not just 2020. Jim, you recently wrote a book, Overcoming Tuesday, which was absolutely amazing, talking about the fact that you were talking to your sister about some stuff and she was absolutely shocked about your shift, and you were like, oh, it's just a Tuesday. So that's the premise of the book, Overcoming Tuesday, which we can all lovely see in your background. This year, what kind of, because you guys try to paint a picture every year. You guys, there's a lot of thought put into your speakers. You guys aren't just like, oh, that's the hot button topic or speaker. You kind of curate what wellness you're trying to focus on and what change you're trying to create. What were you trying to create and change this year with your conference, Jim? Or was this year the year you finally decided to be random?
No. That's the thing. Like, if you looked at like my past shows on like APS Radio on Fire Engineering, or you looked at our past conferences, I think what you actually, if you really like looked into details, I think you could actually pick up exactly what I was thinking and why I was thinking it. Like there's episodes where you could just tell like stuff that was going on with me. I was trying to get more information regarding those. And that's the same thing with this conference. Like there's, in particular this year, like, I dealt with organizational betrayal. All right, let's bring in Michael Segru, who's an amazing speaker, has a great story regarding that stuff. Let's have him talk about that. I was really interested in the pet therapy world. So we're having Joe Elliott come out to do that. And I did a little bit of work with the horses. We're going to have Tim Spradlin bring out, his,
which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, and the facility that we have now allows that. I mean, we have, it's on the fairgrounds. We can do that. And we could only probably get away with that one time at the Hilton where we were at before. Just first and only time, I've been into these different treatments like the stellate ganglion block, neurofeedback, EMDR, all these different behavioral health treatments as well. And so we're going to have Carrie Ramella come in and talk about all that stuff. So this conference in a lot of ways is really an extension of me and a lot of the crap that I've been going through, but to just, to kind of try to bring it really mainstream. Work-life balance, that's another thing that I've struggled with. And so, let's talk about it. Let's bring in Dr. Donnie Hutchinson and give him a, half-day workshop to where he can talk about that. Because I know I struggle with that, but like all of us do. We all have issues with that. So this conference is absolutely an extension of, I think, Nick and me. And it's the same thing. Nick has, speakers that he wants to bring in, that stuff that's close to him and that he's dealing with, so, I mean, and we're already kind of doing that even for next year. Like we've already kind of have a draft idea of what 2025 is going to look like and the topics. And they're all pertinent to what we're dealing with, but at the same time, they're also pertinent to the fire service and what's going on there. And a lot of them are, I think, kind of on the cutting edge of things. Like I feel like we've been ahead of the game talking about certain topics, like the topic you came and talked to last year. I think that was ahead of the game. This medical marijuana CBD conversation amongst firefighters. So that's kind of the short and sweet of it. It wasn't really short, and I don't know if it was sweet, but there it is.
It's adorable. So the reason I asked you guys to do the podcast together was because you have created this amazing product. So I at least had, faith there. I'd already seen the infomercial of what Jim and Nick could create. And the reason I asked you guys to talk about your conference today was that people could kind of get a sneak peek into your thinking for the conference, because I think that's going to overflow into the show that you guys are doing, because you've proven to be so symbiotic. What for the year 2024, 2025, I mean, let's hope the website still makes it another year. We just started today. What do you guys think is going to be the trend? Because there's always a hot topic, a trend, or a new problem. I think organizational betrayal has always been around, but I feel like it's growing in the fire service, right? I think that's definitely been a huge issue over the past 2 years. You guys don't have your heads in the sand. You guys are out there watching everything. What's going to be the thing to fix for 2024, 2025, then the issues that you guys want to focus on and bring onto your show?
I have an idea. I already know but I'll let Nick go. See if he picks the same one I was going to pick.
He wanted to put you in the hot seat first, Nick, is what it is, while he comes up with his answer.
Or do you want me to go? I already know.
Go ahead then.
All right. To me, what's next is 24/72. That schedule. That is the next big thing, and the fire service. And I know my buddy James Gearing from Behind the Shield podcast, he's probably been the most vocal about it, like just really waving that flag of just common sense more than anything. But with his efforts, I know there's already been several departments in Florida that are jumping on board, and my hope is that it just keeps gaining traction more and more and more, and like all these other departments wake up. Like if you really are sincere about taking care of your guys and gals and retaining them, switch to that schedule. If you're sincere about your recruitment efforts and actually getting good recruits that are going to be there for a while, go to this schedule. It makes sense. So I think that it's a groundswell, and it's going to keep moving and moving. And I think we're going to try to push that in the next conference. Even that's going to be we're going to have, I mean, I guess it's a little sneak preview. You heard it here first, but I think we're going to have kind of a roundtable discussion about that. Because I do think that's coming, and it's short. It's needed for sure.
Even just a 24/48 would bring some relief.
Yeah,
I know you guys.
You're on this. You're on this weird
unique
work a day off a day, work a day off a day, work a day off 4 days kind of thing, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm. But that in between day is just not even confusing. That in between day, you're just a zombie if you're at a busier house. I mean, you're facing the choice of, okay, do I lose half my morning by going straight home and taking a nap? Or do I risk losing my night and being completely groggy by taking the wrong nap at that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock range? It's just, it's a crappy lifestyle choice. So even that would bring relief for departments that can't afford to hire that fourth shift.
Well, there's a lot of talk,
24/7.
especially like with the culture, like you guys were talking about earlier in the previous session, by allowing people to, by offering the 24/72, like we've seen it in our area, actually, the departments that may not be able to pay the most money, because that does seem to be the biggest thing, is who can pay the most and who does the less work, right? So, but there has been, departments that have instituted the 24/72 and have been able to attract better prospects and better recruits that way, just because it offers a better balance at home. So, I mean, I think after COVID, we've all kind of took a look at our own lives and determined, like, hey, working all the time isn't the best idea. We need to, slow it down a little bit, enjoy our time with our family and things like that. Even, in the civilian world, I mean, there's people that haven't even returned back to work from COVID because, they're figuring out a different way to produce income where they're able to have a better home life. And I think that that's definitely, going to not only be impactful to the fire service, but to the, the world in general, at least America, as far as, work schedule and those type of benefits, I think are going to be more important to people than maybe money and things like that. So I think it's definitely a conversation worth having and, something, if I was a fire chief, something worth looking into at least, right?
It's funny we talk about culture. Here's my culture shame. Talking about shift changes every time it comes up, I'm like, I might be dead on my feet for a 5-day block or a 6-day block because I might lose that first day of my 4-day. Oh, then it's really a 3-day, but I'm not giving up that 3-day. I love that 3-day is always what's stuck in my mind when it talks about shift change. And it's like, or hear me out. Maybe that second day, if you're doing 48, if you're doing 72, you might actually be a functional human and you might end up having more just quality days. You're giving up quantity, essentially, with a shift schedule like mine for quality. And wouldn't you rather, be feeling better or be awake when you're with your family or able to come up with better jokes about Jim because you aren't always just coming off shift?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, with the shift change. Like, I mean, even I think the 4896 is even gaining some traction now. It's not the most ideal, and your department has to be, I guess, equipped for that kind of thing. Because like one of the departments nearby us, went to it. They love it. I mean, and they're a busy department, so they switch
you have
off.
To love your shift.
Well, yeah. What they do is they switch off. So like the first 24 you're on the medic, and then the second 24 you're on the engine. So theoretically, you could be doing less work, but I mean, oftentimes I don't think so. So I mean, but I think the most ideal situation is the 24/72 is if we continue with 24-hour shifts, right?
Yeah, I'm not spending 2 sleepless nights in the firehouse for 48. That sounds, and I do know departments that love it around us, but they're all federal, so their call volume and response area is a little bit more limited because of that. Okay, yeah, no, I definitely see that is the burning issue coming down the pike. You're seeing more and more people talk about.
You're going to see departments that realize that this is a benefit and jump on this train, and they're going to thrive. they're going to do well. And these departments that are stuck in their ways, or the union even gets in the way, they don't want to give up their EDOs or whatever crazy crap they can think of, like, and they're going to suffer, and they're going to have a hard time keeping guys and gals and recruiting guys and gals. And the ones that actually jump on that train, I think they're going to do well. So, I mean, that's my attitude, at least.
No, I think recruitment rise, it's a golden ticket.
Because you're not adding. I mean, yes, you're adding a shift, but you're not. It's not like you're purchasing an entire new 4th platoon.
Right.
You know, by not having EDOs, I mean, that's going to be a third to half of your members right there, and then not having to worry about any overtime or covering people. That savings is going to help pay for that 4th platoon.
Are departments seeing their overtime go way down? Is that why you're saying?
I want to say way down, but they're seeing that they're saving on overtime, they're saving on injuries, and that all that money is just being basically, they're just moving it from one pile to the other to offset the cost of this 4th platoon.
Well, and I mean, think about it as a burnout perspective too. You know, like I think we could all be guilty of the times where, you know, we might need to take a sick day or something, a mental health day. It's not necessarily that you're sick, but you're just sick of going to work.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're sick of the crap.
And, you know, so there, right there, you know, is some savings, you know, with the EDOs. I mean, a lot of departments, you know, fill in EDOs with overtime and things like that. And I mean, in a short-term period, yeah, overtime can save money because you're not paying out benefits and everything like that. But long-term solution, it's not a long-term solution. You know, before I was a firefighter, I was a dispatcher and corrections officer, and we had overtime out the wazoo. Like when I first started in the jail, you basically picked your poison. We worked 8-hour shifts, so you either picked to go in early every day or picked to stay over every day because you were working a 60-hour shift, you know, 60-hour a week. Because
60-hour shift is
60 hours a week, because that's just how much overtime we had with construction and everything else that was going on with the jail. So, and same thing with dispatch. I mean, dispatch is still, you know, I have friends that work down there still, and it's still as bad as it ever was with overtime. I mean, you know, and that's the one thing that kills people, you know, is all that extra overtime and
the mandatory overtime.
Yeah, people would, if you know, anticipate it and schedule it, you know, then that's one thing. But if it's like, hey, you thought you were going home today, but guess what? You're not, you know, that's
tag, you're it.
Right. And that also, you know, plays into the recruiting and retention piece too, because who are the people that are usually getting hit to stay over on that mandatory overtime?
The new kids, the ones with no families and nothing planned for the day.
Yep. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to even, you know, just to consider that type of a schedule. It makes a lot of sense, I think.
So what you're saying is you guys are going to be doing an episode soon on 24/72 shift.
Most likely.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, that was Jim's.
I'm a fan. It's just there is the convenience factor of just a work-life balance, you know, being home, being around more. But like, you also can't refute the research that's out there as far as the sleep deprivation, and knowing that you can really reduce that by going to that schedule. Because, you know, if they wanted you to work overtime, well, maybe it's off shift basically. So you wouldn't have to tack on an extra 12 hours before or after, kind of like what Nick was saying. You would be able to sleep, you'd be able to be home, and then come in, you do a 12 and you're done. And then you're still got time to recover before you go back again. So it allows, if there is that overtime, it doesn't have to lump onto your shift already, because that's when we're you know, the studies are showing that, you know, it's dangerous, you know, that, you know, being sleep deprived for that long, being up, like, there's science that shows like you are functioning like you're drunk,
You want to hear something disgusting? We approve 60-hour shifts. If you're working overtime, you're normally going to end up, you tack 12 onto either end of your shift, and some people tack a 24 on, so they'll do 48s. And then when staffing is really bad, 60 hours is approved. And I have done a 60-hour shift, and I will never in my life do it again. It's just,
well, even if you're not in a busy department, because like when I was, so one of the things, I was a full-time part-timer, so I worked 3 to 4 different departments to make a full-time job. And like I worked at a department, I mean, we took 250 calls a year, so definitely was not a busy place. But I remember taking a 72-hour shift thinking, oh, this will be fine. And, you know, you're about to crawl up the walls at some point. You know, it's, I mean, just because it's not a busy house doesn't mean that you're not on a constant edge and ready for whatever comes down the pike. You know, you're not getting the best sleep. You're not getting, you know, you're at work, you know, even if you are sleeping at work or doing whatever, you're still at work at the end of the day.
As a volley teenager doing the duty weekend, you had to do your one a month or something like that. That was always just, you're right. 'Cause there's never a time when your brain comes out of that mode of, all right, what is it? What's that call? And your nervous system gets the ability to come out of fight or flight. And it sounds dumb. It sounds like we're being overreactive. But in terms of health, in terms of, you know, not dying off early, it is something that's important. Jim, that was your hot topic. Nick, what's yours? What do you see is going to become the big health discussion over the next year?
Well, the one that I'm excited about that we've been discussing is firefighter syndrome. Something that was briefly popped up after the Maui fires, the wildland fires in Maui.
And your mic completely, you digitized there, Nick. Say it again. What syndrome was it?
Firefighter syndrome. So this term kind of popped up around the wildland fires in Maui, and it's actually, there was a researcher doing some research on that prior to the Maui fires, but it kind of really solidified a lot of their research after the fact with the Maui fires. So we've been talking to her name's JD Miller, and she is a firefighter in Canada. She's in with the research that's going on actively about this, and it's a lot like operator syndrome in the military, right? So, you know, as people who are, you know, those highly trained special ops folks, there's a relative, you know, health term called operator syndrome, and they've kind of adapted that to firefighters as well. So I think it's going to be interesting as we progress and talk more about it, because it's really something that necessarily hasn't been talked about a whole lot.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's pretty
and I'd like
interesting.
to read every now and then.
Yeah, no, but it's just really the gist of it is how this job ends up affecting us, our bodies and our brain. And I mean, how it's just a holistic approach to it, and how one thing leads to another, and et cetera.
They talk about endocrine system and just all of it, because that's the part that scares me, is how and I feel like we still aren't tackling that a whole lot. You know, how many firefighters are getting diagnosed with Hashimoto's syndrome, and you don't really hear it because there's no, okay, we're going to plug Firefighter Nation right now. That's the beauty of this network is, hey, wait a second, you're seeing an outbreak of people with all kinds of sleep-deprived hormone issues over there and over here, and it's bringing awareness to connect it so you can then get the research.
I mean, our hormones are a mess. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Nick.
Well, that's just the hardest part is, you know, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of research until we know that there's a problem, right? I mean, really, the research of the fire service is relatively new when you talk about
2019
as a whole, right?
That's really when it started.
So there's a lot that's not known in the fire realm, and there's a lot more to be discovered. And I think as we continue on, there's going to be a lot that gets uncovered. But like you said, like there's pockets of things that people have no clue about, and the unfortunate part, with research is everything's money, right? So you have to find that person or donor or business or government entity that wants to invest money into helping firefighters tackle those issues. But until then, it's going to be a silent problem, right?
We haven't really done a good job of, I'm sorry, I keep talking on everybody.
No, it's because there's a delay, so we're good. And also,
All
we
right.
already know you have no manners, so we're fine. Keep going.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Like, kind of like the big picture of things, as far as we have a really screwed up sleep schedule that messes with our hormones, and then you throw in everything we're exposed to while we're at work. It's the perfect storm of things. Just it truly is. And it's like why we deal with so much stuff, I think, throughout our career and then after our career as well. Like, you're not done. Like, all this stuff adds up and causes health issues later on, whether it's physical or behavioral as far as mental health goes. So, but the sleep, I mean, how many firefighters are on testosterone supplements? And they're on it so much earlier than they should. Our cortisol levels are through the roof. And when you're working like a schedule like my buddy Dr. Gil Martin always talks about that hypervigilance roller coaster where it takes 24 hours after you're off shift, 48 hours to get back to normal. And then you get right back on shift and you start again. And you don't even have that recovery with your schedule. And you guys are going backwards as far as I'm concerned. And I know I don't carry any weight, although I carry a lot of weight, but I don't carry any weight where you're at. Yeah, but I mean, all this stuff, like, we're finally starting to talk about it, and like having our friend Brittany Hollerback is coming to the conference this year to talk about all the research she's doing.
Amazing
and
researcher.
it's but it's talking about reproductive issues. It's talking about birth defects. I mean, the stuff we're exposed to is causing that. Firefighter hearing loss. I'm working with NIOSH on stuff like that right now. Like, there's just so much again, and it's our lack of sleep, and it's our exposures, and it all adds up to being no bueno for us in the long run.
That's Mark giving you the perfect storm because you said it.
That is it.
It is, yes. Thank you, Mark.
Definitely one of the reasons I asked you guys if you'd have an interest in doing this show is because knowing you guys for a while, you don't bring an awareness level to a subject. You bring an awareness level, the problem, the researchers, and who's working on a solution so that people can then carry it forward to their department. And that's something I really appreciate, is because I hear so often an awareness level of what the problem is. Cool, that's great. I already know that our health is destroyed in this. How do I fix it? And that's something you guys are fantastic about doing, is you don't leave us with problems. The solution might not be out there yet, but you show people whatever steps that you do know exist, and you guys bring on guests that are working on the solution so that there is at least a little bit of hope and a little bit of instruction of how to compensate for those things. So thank you guys for doing this show. I'm excited.
Yeah. Every year at the conference, we always try to it's not necessarily a story arc, but we try to tell a story of, because example, a couple of years ago when we decided to tackle talking about PFAS, we kind of tried to the building block approach, kind of, well, what is PFAS, and kind of slowly build up your knowledge base of it. And we had instructors that could kind of take you on that journey to kind of understand where it started and where we are today, that kind of stuff. And that's a lot of times what we try to do with a lot of the conferences itself is, there's a flow. We try to put a flow to it. Because this is our 7th year. So, obviously we've had years where we may have booked, some things not inappropriately, but just not in the right order, because you gotta give people relief sometimes, because you can't be talking about heavy subjects constantly without it really taking a toll on you. So we mindfully try to, set up the instructors in a way that, it's not going to be too burdensome to sit there and listen to what's going on.
I should just make you guys rename the show Health Nerds, because that's what you guys are in my world. I have a question about something. I call one of you guys. I'm really, really looking forward to you guys bringing these guests and these solutions and these problems onto your show. And I know, Jim, you retired last year. Was it this year? It was last year.
No, it was last year.
Yeah, it was last year. So just getting to,
I'm pretty sure.
I wouldn't call you retired, because I feel you're busier now than when you were in the firehouse. But just also looking forward to you guys talking about all the stuff no one prepares anybody for retirement. Jim, you and I have had some of those conversations of just, we kind of have the dinner for you, kick you out the door, and then we wonder why our firefighters are floundering, after the first month, because all of a sudden we've created all these changes. So looking forward to you guys talking about everything.
And we will. I mean, we've been blessed to have so many participants at our conference over the years, and just so many friendships out of that. And so we know that's a nice thing, and kind of what you were alluding to. If somebody has an issue, somebody has a problem, I may not know the answer, but the lucky thing is, with this, I know who to call, and I think that is very valuable. So when certain things arise in this community, like, I can get right to the source and go, is this legit or is this not legit? What's up with this? So we try to, a lot of times, I think what our show is going to end up being is a lot of myth busting, I think, of actually truly bringing on the subject matter experts and let them, state their case with actual science and research, so I think that's going to be something that we're going to have a lot of. So it's not this that we're, and like you said, it's a pet peeve of mine to just bitch and complain and bitch and not offer up any solutions. So if we're going to complain about something, that's fine, but let's have options. Let's try to think of the remedies of how we can fix that. So, and that's, we may talk about a problem, but we're also going to talk about that solution, just like you said.
All right. I know you guys have an outro for your show. Go ahead and give it as we head on our way out. An outro.
Oh, we only did it one time.
Or is it more of trying to remember what we? Well, that was the one episode you've done. So now, if you do it twice, it's solidified as your outro.
I'm trying to remember what we even said. Was it like he's Nick,
he's Jim,
I'm Jim, hi, and then
you guys were way more coordinated and cute with it the first time. Here, I'll do it. That's Nick. That's Jim. They have a podcast on Firefighter Nation called "Can't Believe They Gave Us a Podcast."
We can't believe they gave us a show. Yeah.
Can't believe they gave us a show. They are nerds with health. They will give you the solution along with the problem. And look for their conference.
And we're not wearing pants.
No. Oh God. Well, that was their one and only show. Your big conference is in October, and then hopefully I will see you guys over at FDIC.
Yeah. ExoticBeaverCreek.com if you want to check out more conference info. That's a real website. It's not a porn site. Make sure you log on your work computer.
And first episode drops on Thursday.
Yes.
All right. Well,
And
thank
I
you for being here.
mean, if you want to skip that show, that's okay. We didn't. It was the guest was kind of bland.
Cold-blooded.
Crazy redhead that's pretending to be blonde.
Listen, it's working for the moment. Nobody's tried to throw anything at me lately. Or
we all know the truth, Steph. It's really gray.
Probably at this point. It's going to be after this podcast. That's for sure.
Just accept it. Like we're accepting it. Yeah. Why don't you?
Yeah. We rock it.
Well,
we rock the gray.
When I grow out the beard and the mustache for Movember, I will accept it if it's in the official. How's that? Sound fair?
Sounds fair to me.
All right, gents. Well, thank you for being on. I appreciate you.
Thank you.